Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's my first YouTube video where I'm recording my voice. Yay! This took way too long to make, but I'm very happy with myself for finally getting it over with, and I'm excited to get into the topic of today's video. The video today is going to be about artistic intuition, which is something that I've been working on recently, something that I did a little looking into, and something that really affected the piece that you're looking at now. For the subject of today's art, I am drawing Giorno Giovanna in a tree inspired by Van Gogh's almond blossoms. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah, Hirohiko Araki and Van Gogh are two of my absolute favorite artists. They're huge inspirations for me, not only in artwork, but in like art philosophy, I guess. I don't know how else to describe it. But yeah, they're just huge inspirations for me. So for this piece, I'm trying to do digital painting, which I don't do as much. I typically just do line art and then like cell shading or a like kind of an anime style. If you follow my Instagram, you probably know what I mean. But for this, I'm doing a more rough style line art and sketching than I normally do, which I thought would work better for the piece itself. This is something that really affected this piece, and it's something I really wanted to share. And intuition itself is kind of a nebulous subject, so I'm sorry if it doesn't come off as like super clear or anything, but I will do my best to explain it. So what is artistic intuition? Well, intuition, the textbook definition of it, is the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. So when it comes to creativity or art, artistic intuition would be basically like a gut feeling or like something guiding you towards a certain style or pose or colors or whatever it may be, without like a concrete logical reasoning. It's just like something that you feel the need to create. And that's at least my definition of it. So why is this so important as an artist? So I actually did a first draft of this drawing before I started on the version that you're seeing now, and it looks like this. And I got partially through the sketching phase of this piece, and I was not at all happy with it. It just looked too stiff. It wasn't expressive in the way that I wanted. It just looked a little too unoriginal to me, and I just was not happy with it. And normally at this point, even if I was unhappy with it, I would just go along with it anyway, because I don't want to waste the time having to redo the sketch or anything, and I would have just gone with it and tried to make it look as good as possible. But in this case, I just was not feeling it, and I decided to start over from what you're seeing now. And it did take longer. I tried to incorporate a couple of techniques that I hadn't tried before. I worked more on composition and values this time, which is something that I don't normally do. I'm a self-taught artist, so I kind of had to learn all the basics backwards, essentially. But I'm trying my best to practice now. And so I'm going to get into a couple of reasons as to why I think artistic intuition is so important and how it affected this piece. So my first big point as to why artistic intuition is so important is your brain longs for a challenge, and it's an opportunity for you to experiment with your art. Yeah, humans are like wired to want challenge, like subconsciously we want challenge, we want excitement. We're not going to always be satisfied with just being okay at stuff. Some people might be satisfied with it, but subconsciously the majority of people will not be. So one reason you should listen to artistic intuition, even if it means like redoing a piece or starting over from scratch, the biggest reason you should allow yourself to do that is that not allowing yourself to express yourself the way that you want can be detrimental, not only to your art, but to your like mental health, which I have definitely experienced. So all the brushes that I used for this piece, there are like downloadable oil paint brushes on Clip Studio. I will try to have them linked below if I can find the links for them. But now I'm just working on the tree, and you'll notice that This tree I actually made purely from imagination. For the branches, I just used the almond blossom tree and then tried to kind of copy the shapes of the branches and the form of them as much as I could. But for the tree itself, you don't see really the full tree in the almond blossom painting. It's just the branches. So for the tree itself, I wanted it to be big enough for Giorno to be able to be sitting in it, obviously. And I'm just using like very small, like curved strokes to kind of capture the form of the branches and the tree itself. And I'm trying to show like where the branches connect to the tree itself so that I can have some reference for shading later on. And then the second big point that I have as to why you should listen to your artistic intuition is people notice a difference in your art, even if you might not think so, which it's not the biggest deal if you're not a social media artist or if you're not trying to show your work to people. And obviously you should always make art for yourself and not for everyone else. Taking the extra time to redo a piece, to adjust it to how you want it to look, can really affect the outcome of it, and it can make it stand out more. Like you can put more time into the detail or the composition or the values. Like I was not thinking about composition or values at all with my original version of this piece, which probably led to my dissatisfaction with it. And now that I tried with this piece, and I actually did some research before I did it, and I was like, oh, this is how I should look at the composition, and like how should I shade the tree to make it look like it's actually at the forefront. And now we're getting into the shading process. I'm just using a very light blue for like the start of the shading, focusing mainly on like where the branches are in the tree and creating texture. And again, for the tree in the shading colors, I'm just using the color dropper and selecting random spots on the painting as reference for them. If you made it this far into the video, I just want to encourage you guys to subscribe if you haven't already and like the video. I really would like to do more videos like this in the future, talking about like art related things or fandoms that I'm in, or my artistic process, or even like tablet reviews. I'm considering doing that as well. So if you'd like to see any of those, please like and subscribe. That would be awesome. That would be much appreciated. Even share the video if you can. And yeah, back to the subject. The third point that I have as to why artistic intuition is so important is you will feel more satisfied with the outcome. So if you come to a point early in a piece where you're not feeling satisfied with the posing, with the composition of it, or just even the general like idea of it, the concept, you're just not feeling it, it is best to start over while you still have the opportunity to. Obviously, you can start over at any point, really. Like, you could be in the final stages of a drawing and still start over, but I doubt most people would want to do that. So if you're not feeling something and it's early on, take the time to redo it, no matter how inconvenient it is, how much it sucks. Like, if your brain is telling you, if your artistic intuition is telling you to redo it, you should redo it. You will be so much happier with yourself and with the outcome of it if you just take the time to put the love that your art deserves into it. And every time I look at a piece that I didn't put as much effort into, or like, oh, I could have done this different, or I could have made this better, every time I look at it, I feel regret, like I could have done better. And it's always best to try to save yourself from that if you can, because like no one wants to do that. You don't want to look at a piece and be like, oh, well, that could have been better if I had just put a little more effort into it. Ironically, relating back to JoJo's Part 5, there's a quote towards the end of it, either in the second to last episode or the last episode, where they're talking about Michelangelo. And there's a Michelangelo quote that I really like, and it says, "The sculpture is already complete within the marble block before I start my work. It is already there. I just have to chisel away the superfluous material." And I really like that quote because that is like, that encapsulates what artistic intuition is for me. Like, your brain already knows what it's going to create before you start creating it, and you should let it do its thing. Like, let your hand do what your brain wants, like let your brain guide the process. And there's a really cool article that I found while doing some research into this. I'll have it linked in the description. But there's a lot of quotes from online artists talking about what they think intuition is relating to art, and they all describe like their processes and how it affects their work. Basically just talking about like what intuition is for them, what's important to them when they make a piece of art, how they let their subconscious just guide their art. And I think that's important for most artists. And this is probably sounding like really nebulous and weird, but that's okay, because art is kind of nebulous and weird. For the flowers themselves, the almond blossoms in the painting are very complex. There's a lot of flow to them. I assume Van Gogh was looking at an almond blossom tree when he was painting it. I didn't do that. I did find some pictures of almond blossoms on like Google, and I tried to kind of copy the shape of them there. But I don't know, I just didn't feel like trying to replicate the flowers in the painting as exact as possible. I just kind of wanted to capture the shapes of them and the flow and add them to wherever I thought necessary. And you'll see in a bit, I tried using a flower brush that I had in Clip Studio to kind of fill in the blanker spaces, because I wasn't really happy with how bare the tree looked. And so I tried to add a little bit more fullness to it, but what I ended up doing was I just used the lasso tool and then created a copy of the flowers and then just pasted them into other spots, which I think ended up looking much better. And then you'll see me kind of flipping between gray and colors. That's an auto action that I downloaded in Clip Studio. It just allows you to turn on basically a gray filter, so you can see kind of how the composition's turning out. And I used that as the main reference for shading Giorno here. And I used the same oil brushes that I used for the rest of the painting on Giorno. I'm not quite sure how I feel about the way that it turned out. It's a little rougher than what I would like. I like a more softer, almost cell shading kind of shading. That's kind of normally what I use. So I wasn't too thrilled about using that on Giorno. I didn't know how it turned out, but I did enjoy using that with him. I thought it would look better for the whole piece and make it look more uniform. And then the way that I used to do shading is I would have separate layers for each color, and then I would just shade every layer individually so I wouldn't encroach on any other part of it. But now what I would do is I just cram all the layers together. I always save it first. I learned that the hard way, but I would save it first in case I decided I messed up really badly. And now I just compress all the color layers into one so that I can shade all the layers at once. It makes it look a little more uniform to me. Probably not what I would recommend for most people. It can be risky if you decide to change your mind, because Clip Studio only lets you do like a limited amount of undos. So if you change your mind, you might not be able to get back your progress unless you save it. And that is the end of my art process. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your guys' support on my very first video. I apologize for the wait between videos. It's been really difficult for me to get it going, but I'm happy that I managed to get this one as far as I have. And I do have more coming soon. Hopefully it'll be a little easier. I do plan on releasing videos perhaps every 2 weeks. I think that's what I decided. But yeah, I am locking in. I am getting a schedule going, and I would really appreciate it if you guys subscribed and liked, and I really appreciate your guys' support, both here and on Instagram, and I will see y'all in the next video. Thank you so much.